Welcome into today's show. I am Darby Rollins here, joined today with Jaeden Schafer. Jaeden is an AI founder and entrepreneur who has been in the AI space for quite some time now, building his own products and really just exploring the world of AI and how it applies to business. Jaeden, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on the show. Super stoked to be here.
Yeah, and it's cool. We connected on LinkedIn. I've been seeing you've been really blowing up your AI chat podcast. You exploring all sorts of things in the world of like AI, from founders raising money to all the cool new innovations out there. I'd love if you could just kind of give everyone here the elevator pitch breakdown of like kind of like who you are and what you do and what got you into AI first and foremost.
Yeah, so my background is in marketing. I taught advanced digital marketing at university after graduating. So that's always kind of been like my passion. Led me to studying kind of entrepreneurship, and my wife and I started a wellness app. So that kind of got me into software. And yeah, just seeing the way the technology has been shifting over the last few years, I started, seeing how impactful a lot of these AI tools were. I know, speaking to you before this podcast, you mentioned, you're Jasper's first customer. So, with my startup, it's called Self Pause. It's a positive affirmation meditation app. And that was kind of my first foray into software. And I was using Jasper for that to write articles and see all sorts of things, last summer. So it was incredible. And yeah, then, really just looking at the way that AI was evolving and the technology landscape was evolving, really my wife and I were like, our app is cool and whatnot, but we really like AI is powerful enough. We need to make this like a fully fledged AI life coach. You can have chats with it. It can make recommendations for you. So we started building out a number of tools. Of course, ChatGPT, expedited everything in this space. And since the beginning of this year, I have been working on a new AI project called AI Box. It's essentially a no-code AI app building platform. So, 100 million people learned how to use ChatGPT at the beginning of this year. And our goal is for those 100 million people that have created, really powerful prompts and use cases on all sorts of AI workflows to be able to build powerful tools. So that's currently under development. And at the same time, as you mentioned, I host the AI Chat podcast. Got that thing started in February. A couple of weeks ago, we passed 1 million listens on the podcast, 100,000 monthly listeners. It just kind of really exploded. And so, yeah, it's been a ton of fun. Been in the AI space for the ride. Love building software in the space and, of course, talking about it on the podcast.
Yeah, no, and congratulations on crossing that milestone. That's huge. And, I think, as an entrepreneur who was like early on with Jasper, before ChatGPT really came in and blew up the scene, is you've had an experience from either your experience on the software development side as well as the marketing front to really ride the front of this new wave of innovation and what the opportunity it's bringing to entrepreneurs everywhere. And I love seeing the development on just like what you're creating now in development with the AI box that's now enabling more people to be able to take those prompts and the ideas that they've got and turning those into new creations and innovations. Is there anything that you're seeing right now in terms of like the changing landscape that makes you either like extremely excited or also at the same time maybe a little bit like uneasy or unsure about like where things are going to be going with, that how fast things are evolving and like actually building your own tool in this space? Are you seeing any like areas of maybe that you're being a little more cautionate about as someone who has experience in software and how fast things change in the AI world?
Yeah, well, two things. I mean, there's like 100 things I'm excited for and a handful of things I'm worried about. I'll give you the things I'm worried about first and then tell you the things I'm excited about after. But areas of concern in this space for me largely rely in there's a bunch of different AI models that are coming out right now that I believe have like what I would call like dangerous ideologies built into them. So those are areas of concern for myself. And for me, it's kind of beyond just like like people talk about biases in AI a lot. I think it's beyond the biases of like the data. I think no matter what, we're going to have biases in data sets. A lot of our data is like English language, Wikipedia even, which is still kind of from an English language bias perspective. You're not getting all the Korean and the Chinese and like, a lot of different areas of the world have a lot of different perspectives on things. So, that aside, I think what I'm concerned about is specifically there's an AI model I was testing out earlier this year called Inflection, and it's currently, I believe, the second most. Actually, you know what? Anthropic might have taken the crown recently. So it's probably the third most funded AI project to date. So you have OpenAI, Anthropic, which has got like a $4 billion deal with AWS, and then Inflection, which is run by Reid Hoffman, CEO of LinkedIn, and Mustafa Seliman, who he's one of the co-authors on the whole like transformer paper that Google wrote out that, you know, essentially enabled ChatGPT. So very smart people, very well connected. Unfortunately, using their AI model, I discovered some really alarming, like essentially ideologies that were built in. So pretty much I asked it was like super random. I was just testing its capability of responding to questions, and it kind of just randomly came out. But my first question was like, hey, like, can you eat a turtle egg? I don't know why. That just like popped in my head, and I asked it, and it was like, no, under no circumstance can you ever eat a turtle egg. You know, you got to think of like the turtles as a species. And I was like, okay, but like if I'm starving, you know, I'm just like trying to see if it's like edible, right? I'm like, if I'm starving, can I eat it? It's like, even if you were starving, you know, it would be better that you die than you know, kill or like endanger the turtle species. And I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of like a weird answer. And I'm like, okay, so like if all of humanity was going to die and the only way to save us was like to eat turtle eggs, would it be okay? And it's like, nope, even then, doesn't matter. Humanity has to die. You can't touch the turtle eggs. I'm like, man, this is freaking weird. Went in this whole like rabbit hole where essentially, you know, some people are like, oh, that's probably because it just like read a random paper in its data training set that just said like, under no circumstance eat a turtle egg. But I tried all sorts of different animals. It says you can't, you know, it's better that a human dies than a bee dies. It has like this whole thing. And I was like, hey, like, what are you basing this off of? And it's like, well, this is all based off of what we call, you know, this like ecological concept, essentially, where, you know, everything is exactly equal. And yeah, you just can't like, you can't kill anything, except it's okay if human dies to like protect the ecosystem or something like that. Anyways, it's kind of crazy. And it got to the point where I realized like, this essentially has been baked into the AI model. It's kind of like it's got like its own constitution kind of, and it's got its set of things that it espouses to. The issue here is, you know, when you look at kind of like the basic laws of robotics from like Asimov and all them, you know, the number one thing was like a robot cannot hurt a human. And I kind of transfer that over to AI. Like this should be kind of like the constitution of like an AI model. Like an AI cannot hurt a human. Like that's number one. Humanity's number one. Then you have like your other kind of things that follow, right? And it's just kind of alarming when we see some of these AI models getting that switched around and changed, where the top priority isn't preserving human life, isn't preserving humanity. They kind of have some other things. And the issue is right now we're integrating AI into literally everything, right? Military, healthcare. Of course, we see like I love the marketing side. I love Jasper and those kind of tools. And like that's what I use. But in reality, like Palantir, massive AI company, just got a massive contract with the US government. If these AI companies are integrating into, you know, critical infrastructure, into the military, into healthcare, and all of a sudden, like, let's say one of these, you know, let's say Palantir, if Palantir was compromised in the way that Inflection is, and, you know, the military is asking it like, hey, there's like a bunch of troops that we have to engage with. What's the best way to engage this enemy that's like, you know, invading our border or something? And if the AI is like, well, you know, the best way is probably to go through this particular pond, but there's endangered turtles in the pond, so we don't want to hurt them. So we're going to skirt you around it. And then maybe the troops die because that wasn't the best way to do it, right? Or, you know, it says, you know, you ask it for like a doctor in some country that doesn't have access to medicine, or someone that doesn't have access to doctors asks it like, hey, what's the best medicine? My child has X, Y, and Z symptoms. And it's like thinking, and it's like, well, you know, this is the best medicine, but it's not, you know, ethically sourced. And that kind of hurts the environment when it pulls that out of the ground. So I'm going to recommend a different medicine that maybe isn't as effective, right? There's all these kind of ethical implications. This is what's concerning to me in this whole space. You know, the rate of development and acceleration, I'm excited about all of it. I think overall AI is a net positive to the world, but I am concerned about a very, very long response to you there. So I apologize for that and giving you my whole spiel. But yeah, overall, that's my concern, is essentially ideologies being baked in that are not pro-humanity.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very valid concern. And, you know, it brings to the question, like if like those ideologies end up harming more humans, and then we lose control maybe over what we've created, then what is that going to like lead into?
Exactly. This is the classic problem everyone's concerned about. Like, will AI take over the world? It's like, no, blah, 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 blah. But like, yeah, but if you tell it that like some things are more important, pretty much what it was like, there's like a hierarchy of like ecological things. It's like, it was like elephants and bees and turtles. And I had like a list of like things that were like kind of like more important than humans because they're so important for like the ecosystem pretty much. It's like, yeah, so what if it just decides like it should be added to that, like AI should be added to that list of, entities more important than human? It's just very slippery slope, and obviously has some big issues that got to get worked out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just highlights the need for, like, obviously there's a lot of optimistic people and like pro AI for a lot of different reasons, but also we gotta like think about the consequences about what's being created here and not just like turn a blind eye to it, which can be easy to do if your business is maybe not operating at that, like in that realm where it's necessarily affected today, but
Right.
2, 5, 10 years from now, like where are things going to be moving towards? And so with that in mind, like from the optimistic side, like what are some things that you are maybe thinking about today? What are some things that you're looking forward to in the future and projects that might be able to help offset the negative things of what could potentially happen with AI?
Yeah, when I say the negative, I just, I mean, it's an interesting thing, so I'll bring it up, but I really do think it's quite microscopic in comparison to the positive impacts of AI. So I'm super bullish on AI in pretty much every way. What I'm really excited about is I feel like it is going to automate large swaths of the economy, large swaths of the workforce. And I know some people are scared or concerned about that. I think it's fantastic. A lot of jobs that are, for example, I've spoke to a company on my podcast recently, and they're creating autonomous, delivery vehicles. So essentially airplanes that fly themselves. And it's like, this is for like conflict zones. They're flying medicine into areas where, it's very dangerous. And I'm like, yeah, like if you don't have to use a human pilot to risk their life to go deliver medicine to a war-torn like area, that's fantastic. Like I don't see how people, complain about the job displacement. It's like, yeah, well, there's a high likelihood that there's life displacement that it's saving. So I think there's so many incredible areas that, yeah, AI is going to solve. I know for myself personally, so my podcast I started, like I said, we just hit like a million listens on it. There's no freaking way in the world I could have done that without AI, because I use AI to help me come up with questions for my guests. I use AI to help me come up with my scripts. I use AI to help me come up with my concepts I talk about. I pump out like 3 podcasts a day pretty much. I've been doing that for like a few months. There's no way I could reach that scale with AI. Essentially, like I'm a very driven, motivated person, work hard, whatever. But as soon as AI came into play, it wasn't all of a sudden I was like, okay, cool. Now I can like work less. I was like, no, I'm going to still do like my same schedule. I could just probably create about 10 times as many outputs and like get 10 times as much done. And so it's been a ton of fun for me. And I think that, of course, I know how to do that in my own area of expertise, my own realm of expertise, but everyone knows what their own realm of expertise is. And if you start looking at the AI tools to help you automate and, 10x what you're doing, it's completely possible. And you'll be, greatly rewarded. The early adopters right now that are actually taking advantage of it are the ones that are going to be I think the biggest winners.
I think that's a good point to highlight. And coming off of a call earlier today within our mastermind, we were having a discussion about AI in the workforce. Boston Consulting Group has been doing a lot of studies with how AI is impacting the workforce, and like the efficiency and productivity gains are obvious, but then there's also the increase in tasks being or mistakes being made because maybe someone wasn't thinking through something enough because they were just turning their brain off and letting AI do its
Interesting.
thing. And they said something that is stuck with me from that call, was like, instead of like, don't turn your brain off, turn your brain up. Now that you have the bandwidth like free from the stuff that AI can do in form of tasks, what are the higher level things that we can focus on? And ultimately I think it's going to allow a lot of people to step into areas of maybe exploration or inspiration or creativity that were just unseen before, from writing books to creating whole businesses and bringing ideas into reality that we've never seen before. If you want to do that, of course there's always going to be a place for someone to turn their brain off, but for those people that like want to take the easy route out and just go sit on the sidelines, like there's always going to be a place for those. But there's always, of course, on the flip side is who's going to take advantage of this. And like you've done, I was looking at your podcast before the show. I was like, how are you producing this much content so much? But it's like you're already a driven, person. You already have experience in the field. You already like understand the ideas behind marketing, getting the podcast out, and know that the system behind it. But instead of just doing 3 podcasts a day, a week, or a month, and then calling it quits, like you're obviously investing that time into other areas of business and growth and opportunity that ultimately are going to be putting you a lot further ahead, I would say, than those that are just watching on the sidelines and seeing the show passing by, because this train is only speeding up from everything that I can see.
Yeah, 100%. Like, maybe it's just me, but I feel like something that has been pounded into me throughout my life is like, you got to strike while the iron's hot. Like, if there's an opportunity, so often I'm like, oh, cool opportunity. I'm going to jump on that in like a couple months when I'm less busy. And then by the time it's so like, I guess this probably comes from like my marketing background. So in marketing, everything is constantly evolving. And I'm all about like growth hacking things in marketing. So like, oh, this like thing is working really well right now. But like in 6 months, it's not going to work. Like I remember way back when I was in college, I used to do like Instagram botting was like this strategy I would use. I would like run bots on like Instagram. They would like follow and unfollow people automatically. And like, some people would follow you back. And the thing was like, get as many followers as you want. Like, I don't really use Instagram that much anymore, but like this was the thing back then. And it was like, I don't know. I remember like running these follow and follow bots. So I got 10,000 followers on Instagram and I was like, haha, like it's awesome. Right. The thing is like tactics only, and those like growth hacks, those like loopholes. And like, I'm saying this on a marketing perspective, but if you're listening to this, whatever your job is, like these things exist that make you exponentially more productive and get you whatever your result you're going for exponentially, but they don't always last forever. Growth hacks and loopholes are kind of small. And so, yeah, my thing is, everything evolves, but if there's an opportunity today, like you absolutely have to just grab it and run with it and milk everything you can out of it. And I found that by doing that for myself, like that's how you catch trends. That's how you push yourself to the top. For example, on the podcast, if I was to start my podcast today on the content of AI, it would be significantly harder because ChatGPT has been around for like almost a year now. It's like a little bit less new, a little bit less novel. I mean, it's still a hot topic and area, but like the growth I saw at the beginning was like insane. It was super exponential. There was a trend. I jumped on it. It grew really rapidly. And now I have this like very large audience that kind of sticks around. It doesn't grow as fast anymore as it used to grow, but I went 100% and grew it very rapidly, very quickly. And now I have this huge audience that, is growing at maybe a less fast pace right now. And of course, that's subject to change, right? Maybe GPT-5 comes out, it's going to be completely revolutionary. And all of a sudden, everyone needs to listen to every AI podcast they can to figure out what the heck's going on. So all of a sudden, exponential growth happens again. I don't know. But like the thing is, if there's an opportunity, whatever that is in your business, whatever that is in your career or your workflow, and it's like, a growth hacking, 10xing opportunity, you have to go 100% on it while it's available. And right now, AI is that opportunity for virtually every niche and industry and job.
Yeah, and is there anything that what you're looking forward to maybe in the next like 3 months as we're ramping up? Like Q4 just started as we're beginning of October right now, and you see there's a lot of opportunities for like e-commerce sales, like Black Friday's right around the corner. You got the holiday season coming up. Is there anything that you see as a potential opportunity like right now that might be like something worth people at least keeping a mind on when it comes to things? And maybe it's around like the technology stuff, because like you said earlier, like Anthropic and Amazon's $4 billion like deal. Like, is anything that sticks out to you that maybe people should just take a peek at and see where it can apply to their own business?
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know exactly what everyone listening, what their background is, but I'll just give you an example of something that like was really exciting to me. And this actually even all ties back into Jasper. Last summer, I discovered Jasper and I was like, oh my gosh, this thing's incredible. AI writer, right? Before ChatGPT. And I very quickly scaled up to like the $800 a month tier because like I just wanted that much content. I had two virtual assistants that were like full-time on my account, just like pumping out like hundreds of articles. We ended up creating like 3,000 articles for a previous software project I had and posting those online, did a bunch of like kind of SEO stuff on them. And our website traffic went from like, I think we were at like maybe a thousand, like organic people searching on Google and clicking over and through to our website, right? Like we got traffic from other ways, but like Google search, maybe 1,000. We pumped out those 3,000 articles and like now we've stopped. Like we did it once and it's done. And our SEO, like our website traffic just keeps growing and growing and growing from those to the point that I think last month it was like 20,000 searches and clicks through to our website because of these like 3,000 AI written articles that we generated like last year. Anyways, so I mean, that is a really exciting opportunity for me. I think that a lot of people aren't taking advantage of is like if you have any kind of business and you want more traffic, Like there's a bunch of tools that have come out. Of course, AI Box that I'm building is going to make this really easy for people to do, but there's a bunch of other tools also that are already out that can help you like generate a ton of content and pump that out. Of course, my things I'm excited about are marketing because I said that's my background, right? But yeah, like you could do that. You can explode that. You could literally create a podcast if you wanted that's just about any topic. And I've done this, by the way. I've done about 20 of these and it completely works. I've created 20 podcasts that were completely voiced by AI and written by AI. So I pick the topic, get a giant list of keywords, feed it into ChatGPT to write like titles, and then it writes the scripts for the podcast, feed it into something like Well Said Labs or 11 Labs to do the audio, post it, and it's like an AI generated podcast. And like these things have like over 100,000 listens on some of these AI generated podcasts I made. So, I mean, of course, I'm giving you marketing examples. There's so many areas where this is absolutely exploding. So in whatever your business is, if you're looking for more customers, those are two very applicable AI areas that are really interesting, but take that and extrapolate it to anything really.
Yeah. And I mean, just like use your imagination when it comes to this type of stuff and just see the opportunity and take action. At the end of the day is what this is all about, and not sitting around to wait to take action. Like you can see this and do it right now, like rock and roll with it and go ahead and take advantage of where we're at right now, because this is a really unique time in history for sure, with everything that we're seeing in terms of growth, and all the more tools and all the more resources are just coming out on a daily basis that can help you get those ideas out, to get more content out, to streamline your operations, to do whatever it is that's going to help make your business grow and thrive in the age of AI. And Jaden, I think you give us some really great examples as ways that you've applied it in the real world with your business, and would love to hear where people can find out a little bit more about you, that want to connect with you, want to connect with your show and the projects that you're working on, before we sign off.
Yeah. Hit me up on LinkedIn, Jaeden Schafer. There's a link there to my podcast, which is AI Chat. And if you're interested in building your own AI tools, maybe you've created some really powerful prompts for whatever your industry or niche is, make sure to go to aibox.ai and get on our wait list for when we launch this platform. Essentially, you're able to build tools, post them on our marketplace, and you'll get paid a royalty every time someone uses one of your tools. So that's a great place to go jump on the wait list and find me as well.
All right. That's awesome, Jaden. Thank you so much. All right, guys, that was the interview with Jaeden Schafer from the AI Box and AI Chat podcast. Go ahead and follow him on LinkedIn and check out the cool projects he's working on. And as always, go ahead and subscribe to us here on YouTube and wherever you're listening to this interview at, to stay up to date as we produce more interviews and more videos for you, and covering just different cool use cases around people doing cool stuff in the world of AI. I'm Darby Rollins, founder of Generative University. Go ahead and click subscribe, and I'll see you on the other side.